Hello everyone, Pastor Matthew here. Happy New Year to all of you. It's so wonderful for you all to be joining me in this new year, praying that it's going to be a lot better than last one. But it is a new year, and because of this, I wanted to start something new, something different, something more along the lines of how this kind of channel began. It originally was made for devotional usage and Bible studies. And we've done a lot of devotions over the past couple of months. I think it's time we go back into doing some studies of the Bible. Now you might be asking, okay, there's a lot of the Bible, what to choose from? There's so many good options. There's the Gospels, always a popular one. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John talking about Jesus, very nice. But no. What about some epistles, letters that St. Paul and Peter wrote to the early church? Once again, fantastic devotional studies and Bible study material. Still no. I wanted to focus this year, 2021, on looking at very important books of the Bible that don't get enough attention. These are the books of the Bibles that you might remember passing over, or are very quick and you can easily forget them. There are many of them in the Bible, in my personal opinion, even that I forget. Most of them are in the Old Testament. We remember the big stories, like Genesis and the creation, Exodus and Moses leading people out, Daniel in the lion's den, King David slaying Goliath. Big stories that, even if you're not Christian, you might know. What I want to talk to you about this year are the minor parts of that book. Not minor as in that they aren't as important, minor as in they are smaller. Especially the minor prophets. These are the speakers of God in the Old Testament that aren't really well known. And in fact, they aren't talked about much. But they are very important to the history of the Old Testament and God's fulfillment of his original promise to save people from their sins by his Son, Jesus Christ. And I want to start today by looking at a very small book. The book of Amos. Now, Amos is a minor prophet, and usually that means there's some debate about him. Minor prophets can be, okay, is this really the guy who's writing it down? Is this the guy who's actually saying these words? Was it taken from, what time in history? It can be kind of vague. Not with Amos. Amos is actually a fun book because it is the least critically debated book among the minor prophets, or one of the most. Some background info about all of this is that to actually have some credibility with these minor prophets and prophecies, usually you need some history with them, you need a general audience with them, and you need a person who's actually speaking. Amos has all three of those. Amos was written about 792 to 740 BC. Now, I understand that might seem like a long time, 52 years, but actually, historically, that's a very short amount of time. Most people can actually get good information from that. And there's my clock going again. It's good to know that some things don't change in the new year. The important thing about Amos is that we have these days because he very specifically calls out two kings. He calls out Uzziah, the king Uzziah, which was reigning in the southern kingdom of Judah around the time of Amos, as well as the northern king of Israel, Jeroboam. We can usually actually do this because other historical texts will kind of go along with this, and it has to do with why Amos is writing. Amos was writing to primarily this northern kingdom of Israel. Once again, some background information due to a whole dynasty king situation of who's going to rule, who wasn't going to rule. Northern Israel split from its southern part, Judah. And Judah kind of went to have Jerusalem, the big city, and northern kind of did their own thing. They were really, really bad usually, worshipped other gods, sacrificed children and babies to them. That's a whole nother story for a whole different day. But what happened was is that this was a time of great prosperity for both kingdoms, north and south. 792 to 740 saw some very powerful changes within the ancient world. For instance, Assyria and Syria were on the attack. But Assyria got really powerful, but then they couldn't finish off its objectives. Because that happened, it left a lot of land open for taking. Jeroboam, the king of the northern Israel, saw this as an opportunity, and he went and he conquered Damascus and Hamath, which are the capitals of Syria and the Hittites. He actually expanded the northern kingdom land to roughly where it was when King David, the first king of Israel, had his lands. On top of that, in the southern part of the kingdom, the southern kingdom of Judah, King Uzziah built up mighty walls in Jerusalem and made it the fortified city that it was known for in the ancient world. He also maintained the largest standing army within Jerusalem and the kingdom of Judah, and he actually subdued the ancient Israel's enemy, the Philistines, and the other kind of tribe that was giving them trouble, the Amorites. He actually made them vassals of the kingdom of Judah. This is huge back then. There's land being gotten back, walls being built up, armies being established, economic prosperity up the wazoo. People were actually in both kingdoms saying that this is the year of the Lord's favor. Good things are going to come. This is probably going to be how Israel gets back on the map. This is when we are going to be as strong as we were with King David. Powerful people with powerful ways of going about it, but there were issues. Big issues. In comes Amos, the prophet. He's a boy. He's a shepherd to the flocks of Jerusalem's temple. He is literally the shepherd of the flocks of God. Very on the nose there. God called Amos for a specific purpose. Though both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom were experiencing great prosperity, there was a sickness at the end in it. And it stunk. And it stunk so much that God could not take it anymore. The hypocrisy, idolatry, and just hatred of the laws of God on both sides, but especially the northern kingdom, of which Amos will go to, was too much for God to bear. So, in the years between 792 and 740, Amos went to prophesy to the northern kingdom. He went to prophesy against their heresy, adding to long lists, to tell them of a coming wrath. The book of Amos is not a fun, happy-go-lucky book. It's full of great prophecies of destruction, great prophecies of God's justice to an unjust people. And ultimately, it does have one very small but important promise of God's continued love for his people, even though they are just terrible to him and everyone around them. There's no other prophet with a more clearer understanding of impending doom than Amos. Now you might be saying, Pastor, why are we starting out this 2021 like it? Well, it's because the things that we are going to talk about have to do with us today. Though we are living in a time of great plenty, even though it has been some issues, we have to examine ourselves. Because things might be going well on the outside, but how are they going on the inside? And that is what we will be speaking of. Join me as we look through the minor prophets throughout the year 2021, starting with a little shepherd boy, Amos. Until then, may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with his favor and give you his peace. Amen. You gonna say goodbye, Daniel? Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.